Trump will speak before a joint session of Congress tonight when delivering his State of the Union address. The president has put a lot of emphasis on affordability, as some good news on larger tax refunds are reported as a result of his One Big Beautiful Bill. Let's find out more about what to expect tonight as we're joined by our panel with Gerard, Filitti, and Tim Doescher. Gerard is a political strategist, attorney, and foreign affairs analyst, and Tim is the executive director of Unleash Prosperity. Thank you both for being here tonight. Gerard, let's start with you. We know the president will lay out new policies in his speech, according to White House press secretary. She says it's a very ambitious agenda. We don't know what those policies are yet. Has President Trump been an ambitious president so far, and what impact has that had on the American people? How's he going to sell this?
He's certainly been very ambitious, and he has unleashed a wave of executive orders in his first year of office that have transformed fundamentally America's approach both to the economy, to foreign policy, and to immigration enforcement of the laws. And I think we can expect President Trump to speak about this at length, about his accomplishments with growing the economy, with law and order, closing the border, foreign achievements as well, and trade imbalances being rectified, going in the right direction. And what we can expect tonight is that he will announce a continuation of these measures, notwithstanding the recent Supreme Court ruling, notwithstanding other attempts to stymie his actions. I think we can expect President Trump to double down on the actions that he's taken and announce new steps to pursue his agenda.
And you read the headlines of some of these analysts talking about it. The Supreme Court decision, they say, has only given more fuel to Trump's fire in terms of these tariffs. And you mentioned trade deficits. President Trump, and that's right, President Trump has cast that as a national security concern. So, Gerard, has Trump's bold approach on tariffs, like we said, despite the Supreme Court ruling, on Iran, on Hamas, and so forth, positioned his party to more easily sell themselves to the American people ahead of these critical midterms?
I think that's still a challenge that we're seeing, and this is the beginning of the sales pitch to the American public. This, followed by the mid-year convention that's being planned by the RNC, are opportunities for the Republican Party to come back to the basics and get back on message and not be distracted by some of the negative messaging that's been out there and that we expect to see tonight as well, coming from the Democrats and from some stunts in the audience, perhaps, and the alternative rally. So this really is an opportunity for President Trump to emphasize his achievements and say that he needs more help. He needs more people in Congress working with him to get more done.
Well, and we know that the president's party usually loses a little bit of ground in midterms. 2018 was somewhat of an exception because President Trump picked up a few Senate seats, although losing a few more in the House. So we'll have to see. Now, Tim, turning to you, we can probably expect President Trump to tout higher tax refunds this year. Is he doing enough to help families who are coping with that high cumulative inflation after the pandemic?
Well, that's a good way to start it because it did not start under Trump. Trump had, zero growth in inflation. He was at just about under 2% inflation growth when he was president. Biden came in, took it all the way up to 9.1%. And since Trump has been in office, he's brought it down now recently to 2.4%. That is a significant story that he must tell, that for the first time in 5 years, wage growth is now outpacing the growth of inflation, Kevin. That is a story he must tell. Real median household income, we just did the numbers, up $4,000 since Trump took office this year. When you factor in inflation, when you factor in what happened under Biden compared to what's happening under Trump, you've got businesses that with the One Big Beautiful Bill now investing billions, tens of billions of dollars into this country who are now going to not have to pay. They're not going to have to pay the tax on that because of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The research and development that we're using for AI, to develop that, to lead AI, they're not going to have to pay taxes on those investments. This is the pro-growth agenda that President Trump promised. Now, look, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. We still got to get inflation down to 2%. It's still a little bit too high. We still need to figure out the tariff situation. Absolutely. But the president must focus on all of these big wins that he's racking up here. And I think that that's going to be what he does.
And Tim, just a little context for viewers. Actually, economists say you want a little bit of inflation. So it's not zero. It is, like you said, that benchmark 2% that he's hovering at, he's trying to get to. And we had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in his first term, now the One Big Beautiful Bill, because like the moniker goes, if you tax something, you get less of it. What do we want? More investment. People reinvesting in their businesses, making America prosperous. Of course, you can understand that. Now, Tim,
you've been reading supply side economics, young man.
I do my homework. work. Now, even some Republican lawmakers, though, have expressed concern over the impact of the tariffs, yet President Trump is reportedly planning 15% global tariffs after the Supreme Court intervened on his use of IEEPA. Now, how will the president make the case for this to Americans, and how will it affect their bottom line if he goes through with this in terms of prices, jobs, GDP growth?
Yeah, this is a novel issue that we're dealing with, and it's gonna be interesting to see. We have that court decision. You can't use IEEPA the way it's been used. So President Trump's going to find other ways to do this, I believe, and he already has. He's already announced that he's going to seek other avenues within the code to impose tariffs for an emergency, and then he's going to have to go to Congress and say, pass this, and if they don't, he's going to try and find other ways to do the tariffs. Look, the bottom line is I don't think President Trump wants to lose these trade deals he's made. Think about the access that we have gained to other nations' market that we never had before, that Trump was able to use the threat of tariffs to get. That is a good thing that he did. Now, we really do need to continue to, press him on the fact that, look, if a tariff is on long term, that's a higher cost for people to pay. And the problem, what we're trying to do is get costs down. So we want to continue to stick with that, Kevin. We want to continue to stick with the message, use it for trade deals, and then remove those tariffs and get better investments.
Yeah, it's just such a mix of things happening. I mean, it's $140 billion in tariff revenue that might just have to be refunded. We don't know yet, of course, because like we said, the IEEPA policy was struck down here. And I mean, some Americans are counting on those tariff refunds. I mean, even a Doge check. President Trump's trying to get the money to him. He's had some roadblocks. We'll see what happens. Now, Gerard, let's come to you. Now, President Trump, he's been busy trying to end the war in Ukraine. He's launched a multi-phase peace plan in Gaza, and he says he's used tariffs and diplomacy to resolve numerous conflicts across the world. Do you expect Trump to use his speech to convey to the American people that he and his party, specifically the MAGA branch, are the party of peace?
Oh, I think he absolutely will, and that he will reinforce that his actions in foreign policy are what is making America great again on the world scale. That after many years of democratic inaction in foreign policy, that now we're seeing America being respected again in the world scene, and that's largely because he is able to bring peace to conflicts, to so many conflicts, whether it's Armenia, Azerbaijan, or whether it's trying to settle the conflict in the war in Ukraine, the board of peace that he created, not just for Gaza, but with wider ambitions of settling more conflicts and bringing more stability. All of this can be framed as a Make America Great Again effort, because by putting America first, these endeavors, you have economic benefits, you have trade partnerships, you have all of these are contingent, all of these successes are contingent on expanding trade and America's influence abroad. So we're clawing back some of the actions that China has taken. We're clawing back some of the advances that other nations have made at our expense. And Trump can point to successes in foreign policy that have resulted in a stronger American economy and are making America more respected on the world scene again.
Just to your point, Gerard, absolutely right. I mean, even the India-Pakistan conflict, there's so many to name in just one mouthful. I mean, as you were trying to do it, that President Trump says he used tariffs to put a stop to that, and he's had some corroboration from the Pakistani side saying that that was the case. Very great foreign policy insight from you. Now, back to you, Tim. Unemployment recently fell a tick. That's good. And the U.S. added 130,000 jobs in January. Also good. How much of that is due to President Trump's policies, and how is he going to structure his messaging around these and other economic indicators?
Well, it's largely due to President Trump's policies. Think about what we lost, though, over the last year. 300,000 government jobs. Most of the job gains, not most of, but a lot of the job gains that President Biden touted in his administration were government jobs. And so when you see a big number like that fall, 300,000 government jobs, but you still see 130,000 private sector jobs added, that is draining the swamp. And I think that's exactly what President Trump is hoping for. Think about the productivity number that we saw, Kevin. You understand when we've got this AI boom going on and we show a 5% productivity gain. And then you see the GDP number, which came out, very, very strong over the last year. That is the product of pro-growth policies and less regulatory burden. Remember the regulatory burden? We can't forget that. That is now
Trump
off
with
the
his
backs of
scissors,
businesses.
cutting the red tape.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and
Tim,
that's reverberating throughout the economy.
Well, right. And so on that GDP note, I mean, we had like 5% maybe in the third quarter. Last I checked, it was 1.4 for the fourth quarter. much less, but due to the government shutdown. President Trump has expressed unity. How is he going to bring in both sides of the aisle here? He's addressing, well, most of Congress. Some may walk out, but the other Democrats will still be there. They have to get things in order in order to keep the lights on.
Yeah, look, this is a great, I'm so glad you brought this up. What are the things that unite us in life? And what are the things that make the economy strong? It's having safe streets. And think about this statistic. We just pulled this. You've got violent crime now down 20, 30, and 40%, 40% for carjackings, for murders. All of these are incredible numbers. That is a tax, actually. When you have violent crime on our streets, people aren't free to be and to do and to feel safe and to have their families. You cannot do that. And so President Trump can use that number, can use the inflation reduction in growth that we're seeing. He can use this as a unifying factor. I don't think we should focus on the grieving of tariffs. I don't think we should focus on the Supreme, whatever. We got to focus on the things that are bringing us together. And whether you like him or not, crime is down, illegal immigration is down, wages are up, and these are all products. These are all products of prosperity in the United States of America.
Really great level-headed input on this. Gerard, we just have a minute left. Foreign policy is not usually big in the State of the Union, but this might be different. Aircraft carriers are being sent to the Middle East or in that region, and Iran talks in Geneva are just a few days out. Where does the president go from here, and will he be able to make the case to Americans that his peace through strength approach is working?
Look, I think he absolutely can. And with Iran, it's very simple. All of America's forever wars in the last 25 years have been because of Iran. Thousands of Americans died in Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of it traceable to Iran and Iranian proxies that have committed those attacks. A lot of the money that we've been spending on defense is because of Iran. So helping bring stability, whether it's a peace deal, whether Iran finally agrees to come to the table and disarm its nuclear programs, or whether it's through targeted strikes, I think President Trump can absolutely make a convincing argument that with Iran settled one way or another, it will mean more prosperity and better systems ahead for the United States of America.
Really great insight from both of you. And of course, the big topic, immigration, we didn't have a chance to go into that in detail, but a lot of takeaways from what you guys were saying. Gerard, Filitti, and Tim Doescher, thank you both for coming on the show this evening.
Thanks, Kevin.